Hey y'all, Tanny Cooks here, and today I'm going to show you how to make this delicious key lime pound cake. Y'all, it is so delicious. We're adding lime juice, key lime, and several different layers in this cake, so you definitely want to stay tuned for this recipe. Let's get to cooking. Okay, so here are our ingredients. We have key limes, of course. You can use regular limes, and I have a couple of those. I have my utensils, I have my oil, key lime juice, lime extract, vanilla extract, butter, my baking spray, sugar, cake flour, 6 eggs, and cream cheese. So I'm using my KitchenAid mixer, and the first thing I'm going to start with is my 1.5 cups of unsalted butter. So that's 3 sticks of butter. I had 1 brand of Land O'Lakes, 1 stick, and then I had 2 sticks of Kerrygold butter. That Kerrygold butter really is a rich yellow color. I'll probably keep buying that brand going forward. And I'm just making sure I get as much butter off the wrapper into my bowl as possible. And now I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of oil. I don't use shortening. I'm using canola oil, and most shortenings have soy in it, so if I find a shortening that uses palm oil, then I'll definitely use that in cakes to see what effect I get. I'm using my Philadelphia cream cheese. Now, these ingredients are all room temperature, so you can see how soft they are coming off the wrapper into my bowl. And again, I'm gonna make sure I get all of my cream cheese off into the bowl. And then I'm gonna mix this for 2 minutes on high speed. That's not high. I'm inching my way up a little bit higher. I just want to be very careful to not over mix. So that's not the highest speed my mixer goes to, but it looked pretty high to me, so that's where I left it to blend. And we're just going to let this mix beat until it gets pale yellow and very fluffy. And I stop it periodically to scrape around the edges to make sure all of it is in the center of the bowl to get mixed. And so now I'm adding my sugar. I'm using 2 3/4 cups of sugar, and I'm just adding it in slowly. Add some, let it beat, add some more, let it beat. All in all, this beating process to get the sugar in with the butter and cream cheese is going to take about 7 minutes. Just to make sure it's well incorporated and this mixture gets light and fluffy. You don't want to rush the process when you're baking or preparing a cake for baking. This is still adding sugar. This is a 1/4 cup measure, so I had to do 3 of those little 1/4 cups. So and now I'm stopping the mixer to scrape down the sides once again. And you can see how fluffy it is getting, which is exactly what we want. So as I scrape the mixer, I'm not beating the batter because I want it to stay fluffy. So now I'm going to add my 6 eggs, and I'm cracking my eggs into a measuring cup at one time so that I can pour each egg into my batter one at a time. But doing it this way, cracking the eggs separately, will let me make sure that I don't get any eggshells in the container, and that if one egg happens to be bagged, it doesn't mess up my whole batter. Now, I added my eggs one at a time, but I missed that footage. So now I am on to adding my flour. And for this recipe, I am using 3 cups of flour plus a tablespoon. And I'm using cake flour, so I'm pouring it out of the bag that it came in into my measuring cup, and then I'm going to sift it. The sifted flour is lighter and will help the cake to be more airy and moist as opposed to being very thick and dense. So I have my little sifting container, sifting mill, and it's a handle on the right hand side that I'm just spinning in order to get the cake flour sifted, and you can see it coming out the bottom there, and that's how it looks on the inside. Sifting flour isn't required before making your cake, but it's my personal preference. So I'm going to add the flour using a spoon. I'm lifting it out of the bowl into my measuring cup, even though I already measured. And then I'm going to add my flour slowly to my batter and make sure it gets well mixed and incorporated before I add the next cup of flour. And you'll notice my mixer is on the lowest speed, because if you have your mixer going too fast, then that flour will puff up in the air and get all over your counters and your cabinets. Ask me how I know. But also, you don't want your flour to overbeat and get too glutinous. So now that I have my flour mixed in, I'm going to scrape the sides of the bowl. You can see from here, there's still some flour on the bowl that's not mixed in with the batter. So I'm getting that all mixed in. I'm being careful to not deflate my batter or over mix it. Now I'm adding salt. It's half a teaspoon of just regular table salt. If you use salted butter, then you could probably skip this step. But my butter was unsalted. And now I'm using key lime juice. This is in a bottle prepared key lime juice from the store. I'm using 3 tablespoons. I am also using vanilla flavoring and lime extract. This is an extra step. The key lime juice and the lime extract both add something a little different that blends together to make a delicious lime flavor. So that's why I use both. If you can't get lime extract, then you can certainly leave it out, but I make sure I have it on hand at all times, specifically for this recipe. The third flavor component of lime that we're adding is lime zest. You definitely don't want to leave this out. It permeates throughout the entire cake batter, so you get that rich flavor in every bite of cake. Now, key limes are very small, so they're hard to zest. Yeah, with a zester. So if you want to use regular limes for this, you certainly can. I have a couple of regular limes that I'm going to be zesting just to get more zest. And I'm going to add about a tablespoon or a tablespoon and a half of zest. And I'm making sure I get all of it out of that container, and these are my zested limes that you can see. So it was 3 regular ones, 3 key limes. The key lime has a stronger flavor than a regular lime. So now I'm going to spray my pan. I have pan baking spray with flour. This is my bundt pan. I love it. I love the different designs of these pans. I have several of them, so you'll see them coming up shortly on this channel. So now I'm going to carefully fold my batter into my pan. My oven is preheated to 325 degrees. This recipe makes 12 cups of batter. This is a 10-cup bundt pan. So I'm going to have some left over, and I actually like that because the 2 cups left over, I'll make a separate little cake just so I can taste it myself in the event that I'm making this big cake for someone else. I won't slice into it, of course. So now I'm just smoothing the top, being careful to not overfill it. I'm always tempted to fill it to the brim, honestly. I don't know why I do that, but okay, there goes my cake. There goes my cake. Now I'm just going to stick it in the oven It's going to bake for about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes. You'll start to smell it before that amount of time, so you want to just give it an hour, 15 minutes, and then use a toothpick or the tip of a fork to pierce it to make sure it comes out clean. Then once you take it out the oven, let it rest on the counter for 10 minutes in the pan. And then I have my cake board. I'm just going to flip it and place it on a wire rack to cool down for another half hour or so. So I'm pulling it out the pan off of it carefully, and it comes out easily. That pan spray with flour is amazing. And now you can see this beautiful pound cake. The crust looks delicious. I'm so impressed. Every time I use this cake pan, it's just purty, y'all, purty. Now, you don't need to leave it on the board. I'm going to take the board off because now I'm going to make my key lime glaze. And as I pour it over the cake, I don't want it to settle on the board. But I'm making my glaze with Swerve powdered sugar. So it's not actually sugar, it's a sugar substitute. It doesn't raise your insulin level. This is my first time using it for a glaze. You can see I'm using key lime juice. So I'm starting off with my Swerve using a cup of it to 1/4 cup juice. I probably should have added the juice in slowly because I wouldn't have added as much. So I'm stirring and stirring, and when I make my glaze, instead of focusing on the measurement, I really focus on the consistency. I want it to be a nice thickness to it before I pour it on my cake. So as I'm mixing it with my spatula, I'm pressing down any clumps of the Swerve, the sugar substitute, powdered sugar. And I'm noticing that it's not thickening up. So I'm going to add my vanilla, about a teaspoon, and then I'm going to continue to stir. And lifting it off the spatula, it's not as thick as I want it to be. So I'm adding more Swerve powdered sugar. I switched over to my wire whisk, and I'm noticing it's still not getting as thick as I want it. It's not the consistency. So at this point, I'm just adding in more Swerve from the bag. I'm not measuring it at this point. I'm just continuing to mix, and I do see it getting thicker. So start with a little bit of juice and just add it as you mix this instead of being so concerned about the exact measurements. So now it's the consistency that I want, so it's time to pour the glaze on the cake. Look at that, y'all. Just so pretty and beautiful, and it smells amazing. This cake, you could smell this cake baking outside my door. Just luscious and beautiful. I'm letting it cool on the wire rack before I transfer it to my crystal cake pan, and there you go, a delicious key lime pound cake, y'all. So moist and fluffy, and pound cake is better the next day, and this certainly was. Make your cake ahead of time and you will enjoy it as well as your guests. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel. Help me get to my first 500 subscribers. I'm working on it, y'all. I'm churning out these videos. Please like and share them. Thank you for watching.